Good morning everyone, Titus here for part 4 of our Asteroids mini-series, and in this video we'll work on creating the code for the laser cannon fire so we can give our player the ability to shoot things. Let's not waste any time and jump right into it. Alright, I think starting off we're going to go into our input folder and we're going to create a new input action. So we can right click, go to input, input action, we'll call it IA_fire. And then if you open that up, the defaults are actually going to be okay. So I think we'll just leave it at that, a digital boolean. Then we can come into our IMC, which is our controller manager, and then we can add a new mapping. It'll be that IA_fire. If we expand it out, we'll want to add 2 mappings to it, I think. The first one we can do is a spacebar, and the next one we can probably do is the mouse left click. And we'll save that there, and let's go ahead and open up our blueprint for our spaceship. Alright, so now we're in the spaceship. We need a way to basically set up the fire, but let's go ahead and let's head over to the event graph and we'll kind of set up the code. Under the begin play, we make a call to our enhanced input system, and we set it to that IMC controller manager. So because of that, we have access to all those input actions. So if I search for fire, you can see I have an event for the IA_fire, so we can call into that. And then the simple code is we basically just come into a delay, and then off the delay we'll come into spawn actor from class, and we're going to basically create an actor that's going to be the laser or the bullet. For the delay, we can probably just create a variable and we'll call it maybe fire rate. We can set that to a float, and I think starting off maybe a fire rate of 0.75 maybe. Probably be okay. And then we can actually drag this into the duration here. But to actually spawn the actor, not only do we need to create the class, but we need a location. So where on the ship do we need to do that? Well, it makes most sense to put it right in front of the cannons, right? So the easiest way to do this is to basically add a component, and we can use a reference to that component's location to spawn the actual laser fire at. So we go to our components tree. I like using a simple arrow, but an empty or anything will kind of really work. And then I'm going to call it laser spawn. And then I can actually drag it forward. And then if I go in, you can see like the arrows kind of like right there. Let's go maybe into front view and see if we can line it up a little bit better. I think maybe we'll turn snapping to 1. Probably maybe put it right there. And then we can come to the right view. And probably right about there is good. Then we'll go ahead and head back to perspective view. And that's lined up pretty good. So I could actually come to the event graph and we can drag that laser spawn out into the graph. And then off that we can get 2 references. The first one is get world location. And then the second one is the forward vector. Off the forward vector, we can come into a rotation from X vector. You might be asking, why are we doing the X vector? Typically with Unreal, X is the forward, but an easy way to tell is just disconnect this real quick and recompile that. If you look at the arrow and select it, it's going to give you a gizmo. You can see the gizmo has blue, green, and then a red arrow. If you look at the markings down here, you can see the red arrow is the direction we want the fire to go, and that is the X direction for this one. So that is why we're coming into the X vector here. So we can come off the world location and do a make transform. A transform is composed of a location, rotation, and a scale. So we have our location, we have our rotation from this, and we're not really messing with the scale, so we can leave it uniform scale, and we can drag it into here like so, and I'm going to hook this pin back up. Now I can't compile because I got to create that class, so let's just do that real quick. We'll come back into our main folder structure here. Under the blueprints folder, let's create a new blueprint class. We'll do of type actor. We'll call it BP laser. And then I think we will start off by adding a simple collider. I'm going to use a capsule collider or collision. I'm going to call it a trigger capsule. And then inside the trigger capsule, I'm going to add a sphere. And then I'll call this laser 1. For the laser, I'm going to unlock the scale, and I'm going to just compress it to maybe 0.08 on the Y and the Z. That kind of makes it more lasery. Now the capsule component is rotated the wrong way, and this is a child, so I got to get that right. So let's just go to the trigger capsule. I'm going to press E, rotate it 90 degrees, like so. I can go to the laser, and I can rotate this one 90 degrees back, so they kind of line up. And then going back to the capsule, I think I'm going to do maybe 40-13, so somewhere around there. The reason I'm doing that is because the static mesh I happen to be using, unfortunately, I probably didn't think too much about it, but it's got 2 cannons, so when I spawn the bullet, I need 2 laser fires, I think, is how I'm going to do it. Probably a few ways to do it, but that's the way I'm going to go. For the material, we can probably add an emissive material there, so let's just do that real quick. So we'll come to our materials folder. Earlier we created an emission base. We can just right click on that, create a material instance. We'll call it mi_laser fire. You can open that up here. Check color and power. We'll make it a red. Save that. And then going into the laser, you can just highlight that laser fire, click the little arrow, and that looks pretty good. The other thing we'll want to do is under the collision settings, so if I can find it here, collision presets is block all dynamic. That's going to be an issue because it spawns into our ship. So if we don't change this here, when we shoot the laser, it's going to stop the ship from moving. So if you happen to be moving and shooting, you're going to notice like some hitching. So make sure you set this to overlap all dynamic. Should be good. All right, and then for the actual laser, you can click into here. I'm going to set my snapping to be 5, and then I'm going to move this maybe 2 spaces, and then I can right click and duplicate it, get laser 2, and then I can pop that 2 spaces over. So that's going to be my 2 laser fires that get fired at the same time, and it's going to use 1 single capsule collider to do all the collision checking. So we can compile that here. The other thing we'll need to add is, because right now this doesn't really move or do anything, so we'll want to add a script that'll actually do some projectile movement. Unreal has that kind of built in, so if you run a search for projectile, there's a projectile movement. You can just simply add that. And then you got to set some initial speeds here. You can try 5,000 for the initial, 6,000 for the max. We'll set the gravity scale to be 0. And I think that's pretty good for that. The other thing we'll probably want to do is in the event graph, for the event begin play, we'll probably want to come into a delay. And then for the delay, I think it may be a 0.2. And then we'll call a destroy actor. And then that way, when you're shooting bullets, they don't stay in the game forever, because as you add bullets, you know, it's gonna basically fill the screen and take up resources. So you might as well destroy the actual actor there. But yeah, we can go back to the ship now. We'll be coming back here to do some other code here, but let's kind of get the ship shooting real quick. So let's go back to the actual ship, and in the event graph, we can select our class as BP laser for when we spawn it, and we have our fire rate set up here. So now if we compile and save this, we should be able to actually shoot. You can see it doesn't look like it lasts very long, so we might want to increase the delay for the actual gunfire. So maybe 0.5 here. And the fire rate's kind of slow, so let's go ahead and go back to the ship. And let's set our fire rate to 0.2. That seems like a little better. Then you can move around and actually shoot. Now the other thing you'll notice is the fire doesn't go across the screen. And you may want that, you may not. To add it, it's pretty easy because we already have that code set up in the ship. We could actually come over here under the tick code. We can highlight everything and control click to get rid of event tick. You can right click copy, and then when you go to your laser, you have the tick code down here. You can paste all that in over here, hook the tick in there, and then this will actually adjust to use the laser, so you can actually shoot through the screen and actually spawn the actor on the other side. And you can control the distance based on the how long you set the delay for the destroy actor. So that way the laser's not going forever and just flooding the screen. But you can get something a little bit more manageable. But all right, people, I think we'll cut the video here to keep this one short. In the next one, we'll work on creating the asteroids so our player has something to shoot at. But as always, thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one.